Living the Artist's Way, Week 1. So, if you are familiar with The Artist's Way, it's a book that was published probably 30 plus years ago by an author named Julia Cameron. And it's basically a program, a 12-week program to kind of help creatives recover, like creative recovery. So if you're feeling like creatively blocked, you don't know what your voice is, you don't have any direction, that's what it gives. And I read the first Artist's Way book probably sometime around between 2012 2013 when I was living in Chicago and making music. And one of the practices that she tells people to do is write morning pages. You're supposed to write 3 pages every day of just stream of consciousness as soon as you wake up. And that really helped unlock something in me, because at that time I was writing a lot of music, and like I actually still think a lot about the songs I wrote back then. And like I was like, okay, she's a lyricist, okay. And then on top of that, she also suggests like weekly artist dates to just go out into the world and find things that inspire you. So maybe that's going to like a museum or the library or whatever it is. So I've been craving revisiting The Artist's Way recently, because I'm not saying that I've hit a wall creatively, more so that like I've put a lot into the world and I want to go deeper. I want to create work that has like a lasting impact. And I've been making this web series, Brooklyn Harlem LES, and it's going really well. We've shot 3 episodes, and it's really funny. It's meant to be like funny sketch comedy, which is fine, but I have found myself kind of struggling because I'm just like, okay, like, is this not serious enough? Is it not hard hitting enough? And like, not everything has to be super dramatic and like complex and all of that. And granted, the world that I've built for this web series, which is based on a pilot for an actual sitcom, is very complex and layered and nuanced and balances humor and drama. I think it's hard to convey that in like a short format, sketch comedy, semi-anthology format where we're not really getting into arcs, character arcs, because we don't have the budget to like, you know, have a set that's an apartment for a character that we can keep shooting in over and over, those kind of things. So I wanted to revisit The Artist's Way because I was like, I need to go deeper. I need to find out what is the most important part of my voice that I should be honing right now, because I don't just want to stick with like film and television either. I would like to write books. I would like to do, you know, multidisciplinary art at some point. So I was looking for another copy of The Artist's Way because I had actually gifted my copy to a collaborator of mine back when I lived in Chicago. And I was trying to see if there was actually any like updated versions of it. And I found this one, which is the most recent one, called Living the Artist's Way. I think this was published, I want to say it was 2023. So 3 years ago. Very recent. So she has a number of books in this series. She has The Artist's Way, the original, The Artist's Way Morning Pages Journal, which is more of like a companion notebook, The Artist's Way Starter Kit, which is a compilation of all of these things, the book, the journal, blah, 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 blah. And then Walking in This World is probably the second book in the series, which is the official sequel. It provides a 12-week program focused on taking your art into the world and building creative trails, which I feel like I've put a lot of my art in the world. Then there is Finding Water, which is another 12-week course that's designed to help artists heal from burnout and exhaustion and despair, which I'm not saying that I'm not burned out, but I have processed a lot of what was burning me out creatively and just like living everyday life, like balancing like my day-to-day life responsibilities and being an artist. A big, huge thing that I did was I don't produce anymore. I used to be an experiential producer, and that was a huge source of my burnout because it's such a demanding job and it's very mentally taxing, and it can also be very physically exhaustive if you're like working on site a lot. So now I'm a project manager, which is great because it pays the same amount of money and I don't have to travel. I don't have to be on set or on site for anything. I log in and log out. It's a much more sustainable day job for me. So that was huge for me. So living the artist way is about exploring deeper intuition, inner wisdom, and identifying your primary source of creative guidance, which is what I am looking for. I am looking for tapping into something higher than self, higher than external validation, higher than like goals or whatever. And so week 1 has been about finding grounding. And before I get to that, I also want to say there is also a Artist Way Everyday Reader that I have. And I thought it would be interesting to read what today's message was. And I feel that it actually connects to this. So today is July 20th. It says, so much of art hinges on our ability to trust intuition, to follow our hunch about what might or could come next. The difference between a blocked artist and a free one is the precise openness to moment-by-moment invention. Agnes DeMille tells us that an artist must take leap after leap in the dark. Picasso tells us that we are all born children. The trick is remaining one. How do we remain one? Having the time of our lives is the answer. Being open to the right timing of coincidence is key. I feel a common theme for me right now is having to embrace uncertainty. I think that's just the state of the world, right? Like aside from like my own individual quest and whatever, like the world feels very unstable and uncertain. And when you're in times of uncertainty, part of your assignment is to lean on faith, lean on using that uncertainty as a space to go internal. I think anyways, like when I'm super, super uncertain, it really challenges me mentally and emotionally because I'm always just like, okay, what do I do? And I started reading this. I just finished week 1. This is similar to the Artist Way in the sense that she does recommend you write morning pages. She does recommend that you go on weekly walks. She does recommend that you go on your artist dates. The other thing that she teaches you to do, or is trying to teach you to do, is to write for guidance. So writing for guidance is basically you have some type of question on your mind. Let's say, what should I be doing with my career right now is your question. And you listen for guidance. And now her guidance is like her inner child. Your guidance might be the universe, God, Jesus. Like it could be your ancestors. Whoever it is that you feel is guiding you is who you're speaking to. And so you ask a question as you write, and then you write the response that you hear. And by hear, it means hear in your intuition, because one of the things that she mentioned is that, like, there was a quote in here, I should have highlighted it, but it was something about how the mind, thinking with your mind is limited. And it's better to think, oh, here it goes. Don't try to comprehend with your mind. Your minds are very limited. Use your intuition. So it's really about learning how to trust yourself in your instincts, but also taking the time to actually sit with yourself, to hear yourself, which I think is very hard to do in today's world. There is so much noise from social media, from just like the constant grind we all find ourselves in. Like there's so many things that are pulling and reaching for our attention. And one of the things that I realized in writing my writing for guidance pages, one day I had written, I don't have it verbatim, and also my handwriting is so horrible, so like reading back things that I wrote down frantically is like kind of impossible. But one of the things I remember writing was, and not even writing, when I was asking for guidance, the guidance told me that right now I am in a space of breaking down my self-concepts. And I feel unrecognizable, which is why I feel lost. But my duty right now is to rebuild my self-concept. And that to me is a very spiritual task. And so week 1 was kind of all about quelling anxiety, understanding that doubt is normal, that every artist, every person experiences doubt in some way, that it doesn't necessarily reflect that you're not on the right path, or that you don't, it doesn't even reflect that you like how you feel about yourself, as much as it's just a normal part of the human condition. It's a normal part of the mind to doubt. Like that's what our minds are kind of trained to do. So week 1 was all of those things, plus getting your home environment together. So if there's things in your home environment that feel chaotic or out of place or uncomfortable, getting that in order, embracing embracing optimism, career guidance, figuring out what it is that you're trying to go, and then believing your friends. And honestly, that's a huge one for me, because I am so blessed to have friends that like truly believe in me more than I believe in myself sometimes. I, during this first week, was going to stop doing Substack. I've been doing a Substack for 5 years now. I have like 2,700 readers, well, subscribers. I won't say readers. I don't know who's reading. I don't don't really know. Like opening an email doesn't necessarily mean you read the email, right? So I try not to get too caught up on the numbers. But I will say I have a decent audience, a sizable audience. And the reason why I was like, I don't really know if I want to do Substack anymore is because like, I'm just like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? You know, like cultural critiques and curating, watching playlists and personal essays. Like I enjoy doing it, but like, again, I feel this pull to do something deeper, and I don't know if this is it. And I feel like Substack also as a platform has become very noise polluted as well. Like when I was on it 5 years ago, it was much quieter than it is now. Now a lot of people are migrating over to it, and the landscape of it has changed, and the type of people on there has changed. And so I was talking to one of my besties, Adrienne, who I've known since I was like 14. And I was telling her, she also has a Substack where she writes advice called Ask Adri. And I was telling her how I was thinking about I'm thinking about like not doing the Substack anymore. I started writing this piece about like the death and reclamation of cool, talking about Miles Davis and Aaliyah and Solange, and how cool has become a place of like hyper consumption in modern society, but that's not what cool meant when it originally was used in like 1940s Black American jazz culture. But I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna finish it. Like, who fucking cares? Like, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, now, Lachelle, calm down. Your voice is important. You have a very sharp analysis, and it's needed right now in a lot of the creative spaces that, you know, you're talking about and dissecting. It's needed. And so I was like, fine, whatever. So I finished the piece. I published it. And what made me feel kind of affirmed, well, really affirmed, was Daniel Smith, who is a former editor of Vibe magazine, when Vibe magazine was like the urban magazine, as well as Billboard and a number of other publications. She shared my article in her Substack. And I told Adrienne that, and she was like, what did I tell you? And so believing in your friends really hit for me, because Adrienne is one of them. My friend Talea is one of them, where she's just like, I have absolutely no doubt that you are going to do amazing things in this world. Like, I have absolutely zero doubt about that. And that's really important. That's really, really important. So I'm grateful to have people like that in my life who ground me. Again, week 1 was about inviting grounding. Who are the people in your life that help ground you when you're feeling a little like, I don't know. So what I've concluded in this first week is obviously like I'm staying the course, right? But also taking time to cut out noise is really important. Because maybe I wouldn't have felt like, I need to delete this Substack if I wasn't caught up in the noise of Substack all the time, and feeling like, oh God, like, is anyone engaging with this? Like, is it an echo chamber? Are other people writing? Like, just cut out the noise. So my goal this week is to only go on social media one day this week, which is Friday. Check my notifications, which is usually just like memes and videos from my friends. And aside from that, edit the most recent web series episode that we shot that I haven't edited yet, finalize the script for the next and final episode that we're going to shoot, and then just keep doing my morning pages, going on walks. I did my first artist date yesterday, which I went to this Japanese cafe / record store called Silence Please in my neighborhood. I just went there, had me a little hojicha latte, went through some records, like listened to some of my favorite albums. I listened to Solange's True and Aaliyah's Aaliyah album because I had just written about both of them. And that was great. And then after, I went to a play with my partner, his sister, and her boyfriend called Shifters. And that was an excellent play at Cherry Lane Theater about these two kind of high school sweethearts who have this kind of shared trauma, and their relationship falls apart, and then they meet again under kind of somber circumstances, and it's clear that they're soulmates, but they can't be together. And it was very just like minimal set design, like black box theater style, mostly just the two of them doing dialogue. We were sat behind the stage, which was a really interesting kind of experience. The blocking was really cool because you could see like the actors were either faced this way or that way. So if you were in front of the stage or behind the stage, you could see one of them. And I just thought that was so dope. Like, seeing that you can tell a story, a dynamic, compelling, engaging story without having all of the bells and whistles of like, super intricate and expensive production design. And I would love to write a play one day. I don't think I'm there yet, but maybe I will be after living the artist's way. So more to come for week 2.